Hallo und herzlich willkommen. Es begrüßt euch wieder einmal euer Carsten Schäfer. Heute ist ein Sänger und Musiker bei mir, den ich schon einige Male interviewen durfte, und zwar Rob Goodwin, Sänger der englischen Band The Slow Show, der für seine sanfte Baritonstimme berühmt geworden ist. Kürzlich veröffentlichte er sein erstes Soloalbum Peekaboo unter dem Namen Goodwin, über das wir heute sprechen wollen. Hi Rob, great to see you again. How are you?
Hey, Carsten, it's great to see you again. I'm very well. I'm really well. I'm excited.
Now, so far we've only talked about you and the Slow Show. Today we only talk about you. Is it somewhat strange to have a solo album and not a Slow Show record?
It feels very different. Yes. I don't know if it feels strange, but it's certainly different. It's exciting in a different way. I love both worlds so much. But it's exciting in a new way.
Now, since this record is a very personal record, I'd like to know a little bit more about your life, if I may. Tell us a bit about your life. You're from Manchester originally. What kind of environment did you grow up in?
I'm from Manchester. I now live in Düsseldorf. But Manchester had a huge impact on me, me as a person, as a human, and certainly as a musician. You know, when I grew up in Manchester, music was everywhere. And Manchester is one of those cities. It gives you the feeling you can be whoever you like. You can be whoever you'd like to be, and also that anything's possible. So Manchester will always be a big part of me. And now Dusseldorf's a new part of me, and living in Germany is something new, and that's affecting me, and it's affecting my music as well.
I would like to know this. Now, Manchester has, of course, as you said, and as we all know, loads of bands and artists and everything. But I know hardly anybody who plays music which is, say, as fragile as yours is. It's very unusual, I think. What was it like? What was life like for you in Manchester? Were you just part of the group, of the scene? Were you an outcast? Were you a bit of a loner? Who were you? What were you?
It's a good question. I mean, we were all so inspired by Manchester and the bands around, but I mean, as a singer, I loved those famous singers from Manchester, but I never really related to the sort of, I mean, there's a sort of masculinity and this kind of swagger and confidence, which I never really had, and I still don't. So I could never be a singer like those guys, you know. Um, so I was more interested in vulnerability um, and even a more feminine approach to. I mean, just this idea of front man never really, I never really related to that. So I was more um, interested in vulnerability and sharing feelings on stage in a different way. But I still loved watching those singers growing up. So yeah, I think even though the city affected us with the slow show, for example, our music, the people affected us. The music scene we enjoyed, but I think we always felt a little bit of an outcast.
Mhm. Just a side note, are you a football fan?
I am. I grew up about 200 meters from Manchester United Stadium, so I'm a red, which is hard at the moment, but it's the hope that kills you.
Did you get any support from your family in playing music, and what do they say about the music that you've chosen to play?
Yeah, they supported me in everything I did. My family, I feel blessed. They're not musicians, but they love music, and I think the biggest thing they did for me was just I was surrounded by music. They love listening to music. My mum loved Motown and popular music. And my dad was a huge Beatles fan, and he listened to James Taylor, who's now one of my favorite artists. So going on holidays, we always went on holidays in the UK in the car, and we always listened to James Taylor and Joni Mitchell and the Beatles, and then my mum would put on great Motown records. So that was a real blessing.
A lot of people say this new record, I'm going to get into that in just a second, but reminds them of Nick Drake. Would you say that that is so?
Well, I wouldn't know how it makes other people feel, but I think this record was all about stories. I wanted to make a record that had the orchestration and the production was the least important part of the record. I just wanted to see what would happen if the stories stood on their own and they were supported only by words and a narrative. So in that way, the record is a sort of storyteller's record. I think, I hope, and in that way, Nick Drake, um, Leonard Cohen, all those great wordsmiths, and storytellers. I guess I was inspired by those records for sure.
Hmm. Hmm. Why did you move to Germany?
I met, well, for love, really. I guess that's often the answer. I met my girlfriend at a music festival here 10 years ago, and I moved here 5 years ago.
Hmm.
I love it here. I like it. I like the peace. It's a bit quieter than Manchester, uh, and I'm kind of yeah. I think I was ready for a little bit of quiet.
Right. Now, your solo album is called Peekaboo. It is, I would say, your most personal record to date, isn't it?
I think so. I'm pleased you think that. I think it probably is just because um the words are almost more important because the, they're at the focus, they're at the center of the stories, and the kind of are the star, I think, of this record. So yeah, I think it's a personal record for sure.
Did you call it Peekaboo because you give us an insight and permit us entry in your most personal, private feelings?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I just this idea of kind of a peekaboo into, into my thoughts or the way I'm seeing the world or how I'm feeling about things and other stories. Of course, a lot of these stories are about people I know and love and or people I observe or so I think it's a bit of a peekaboo into that. And there's also something quite intimate about it. It's very raw. I think this is a rawer space. It's a better space to share these kind of stories. So yeah, I think so.
Is that the reason why you wanted to do a solo album outside of the slow show?
Yeah, I think these songs just felt like they were more intimate. I didn't, I wasn't interested in making these songs grand or supporting them with big orchestration. I love that. And there's so much joy when I'm with the slow show of standing in the middle of that world. That's euphoria and layers and builds and instrumentation. And I have that world and I love it and I continue to enjoy that world. And it made no sense to create another world like the slow show. So with this album, I wanted to see what would happen if the songs just stood on their own. Silence became more important space, and the words. I think these are simple stories, presented in quite a traditional way.
So we don't have to worry about the slow show having to exist without Rob Goodwin.
Not at all. No, I love these. They're like different places to present something, and I think there's definitely things that I that I miss about the slow show when I'm presenting songs in this way. But there are also times with the slow show where I miss this sort of intimate, rawer space. So they're just places to present something. The different worlds, and I love them both.
You say that's a very raw record in a way. Talking about your vocal delivery, it's always been very delicate. However, on this record, it sometimes seems like you almost daren't speak or sing the words. It's so low sometimes and so holding back that it sometimes seems like, is he actually going to sing? It seems like you've really gone down to an extremely low level of just uttering the words. Is that so?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's how you feel. Yeah, I see that as well. It's interesting because I made this record. I recorded all the vocals here in my apartment in Düsseldorf, and I worked with Lambert, a producer from brilliant piano player and producer from Berlin, and he's a very brave and wild musician. He's a bit of a maverick, and I when I went to his place with these demos that were recorded on a a small microphone in a quite a DIY setting, I said, of course, we'll have to re-record the vocals on a very expensive professional microphone, and so there's no sounds. You can't hear the tram or children playing and dancing and singing on the street. Um, and he said, no, no, I like them as they are. Like they feel very personal and intimate. We keep the vocals like they are. So maybe that's the difference. The vocals were done. Um, I thought we would redo them, but he liked the feeling. So those vocals are quite raw. They're very raw.
And also the piano. Most musicians would never dream of letting the audience hear the pianist use the pedals, the piano pedals. But on this record, they are really there. So, did you consciously decide we're going to leave all these ambient noises in?
Absolutely. Everything on this record, we didn't really edit at all. In fact, we wanted all those imperfections, all those cracks. I love that Leonard Cohen line, there's a crack in everything. That's where the light gets in, you know. And with us, we just wanted it to be really raw, really real, and just as it is, you know, it's X, you know, this idea that we that it would just be reflect life, really, you know.
How'd you get to know Lambert, the masked, mysterious pianist?
Yeah. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of his work. I've listened to him a lot over the years. I always thought in that space of piano players that he was the one that perhaps interested me the most. I like his approach to the piano. He's wild, he's unique. There's a little bit of jazz in there. There's some kind of neoclassical stuff, but it's hard to pigeonhole him really.
Mm.
And when I made this record, I knew that I wanted it to be a voice, an acoustic guitar, and a piano, and really, really intimate. And when I was thinking about a piano player, he was the first person I thought of. And I sent him a song and asked him if he'd like to play on it. And I got a demo back 3 hours later of him playing on it and saying that he liked the song. Um, and two songs turned into 10, and I'm very lucky. I feel I'm just back from Switzerland. We played some shows there this week, and it feels like a real gift to be playing with him every evening. I never know what he's going to do. I'm constantly pleasantly surprised. He's great.
So it wasn't like an Elton John, Bernie Taupin thing where he wrote the music and you wrote the lyrics and you put them together, but you sent them complete songs because you do play music.
Yeah, I love that relationship. But we didn't do it like that. I generally wrote the songs, and then I'd go. But he had a huge impact. Sometimes we would change chords. Sometimes the structure would slightly change, but mostly the songs were written on an acoustic guitar. Mostly, but he had such a big impact on this record. He's now a great friend and someone I love collaborating with.
Obviously, we can't just talk about the music, which is great as usual, but also about the lyrics. Are they 100% autobiographical, or is there some fiction mixed in?
Oh, I think I think with all kind of art, that's such a difficult line to draw. I mean, there are real stories. There are things that are fictional. I think most of it comes from a place of mine or something I've seen or a friend. That they're stories, really. Some of them are very close, and some of them are a little further away from me. But I like though mixing that line a little bit. There's some fictional stuff in there, but most of it comes from a personal space.
I have to get into a few songs a bit more up close. Now, the song title, How's the Pain, Son, is one of the most moving song titles I've ever heard. Who is it about?
It's about a friend of mine who sadly passed away, and uh, yeah, I wrote most of those lines about him. And yeah, it's a song about wishing someone well, hoping someone gets better. Yeah, it's a personal song.
Hmm. On Whiskey, you are accompanied on vocals by Kesha Ellis, whom we know from the Slow Show. The song reminds me a little bit of Father and Son by Cat Stevens, a sort of conversation about a painful topic. Is that so? And what's the background?
Yeah, it's a lovely comparison. Thank you. I'm very honoured. Um, that's yeah, it's a song about heartbreak, and it's a song about trying to fill a space that's been left by somebody with something, whether it's a drink or something else, but just trying to fill a space hopelessly, unsuccessfully, trying to fill a space. That I just had that lyric that um it helped when you kissed me, but now there's just whiskey. I had that lyric, and the song's all about that, really.
Now, reading those lyrics, quite a few of the songs seem to be about you feeling remorse that you hurt people, while in some cases that seems to be inevitable. Is that correct?
I think so. I mean, I think there's always a chance of hurting people in when love's involved, and there's always remorse. I'm always mindful of things that I regret. But yeah, there's some of the songs are stories from 10 years ago, and some of them are thinking about the future. But I think, like everybody, there's things I regret. So I think that's in there for sure.
While 4 a.m. just seems to be a happy, serene song. Is that about your girlfriend? I have to ask.
That's not no. I mean, there are some current songs about love, and the song on the record that perhaps is most about the this moment is "Don't Change Nothing." It's about finding some peace and love that feels really good, and hoping things stay just the way they are, whilst knowing that everything changes. But there are some lighter songs on the record. I think 4 a.m. sounds light. Lambert, that's probably the most produced song, and there's a shuffle and a swing to that song, which feels light. Yeah,
Right.
um, yeah.
Runway again seems incredibly desperate. Is it really, or is there hope in there?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that one. That song's a sort of detailed description of panic, really. It's a song about needing somewhere to land and feeling lost and scared and um, realizing that you need some help, I think. So I don't know if there's any hope. In that moment, there wasn't much hope. So I think there's hope in the record, but that song doesn't have much balance at all, I don't think.
And the last thing I would like to ask you about is Love Song. Are you talking to yourself in that song, or is somebody talking to you?
Yeah, that I think that's a different song to how I usually write, and it's a good question. I'm not sure, but I think I'm talking to everyone. Kind of the songs about celebrating love in its most fleeting moments. The first line is like a Manchester line, which I'm not sure if people will understand, but when you meet someone in an evening that you don't know, a stranger, and you decide to spend an evening together, we would say in Manchester, "Get your coat, you've pulled, son." Um, and I think there's lots of songs about romantic love and lasting love. And I wanted to write a song about like love for one evening, or just the little things in life, looking at a tree or um, whatever, like little silly moments that feel like there's some love in them, fleeting love. So that song's about celebrating little moments that are lovely. It's light. It's actually not so heavy, that song. And one thing I've really enjoyed so far being on tour is at the end we kind of sing that together, that we're going to write, we sort of say, let's write a love song together, and it's a bit tongue in cheek and people laugh, but we sing it and it turns into this like really hopeful, euphoric kind of celebration of little lovely moments.
Oh, but I have to ask you, who's Lucy?
Uh, well, that's a good question. I think Lucy is somebody different to everybody. I hope that somebody that when people listen to this record, they have their own Lucy. The song's about missing someone and sort of thinking about them and realizing you'll always miss them.
Right, right. Now, these songs are very personal, but is there one song which is closest to your heart?
I think the first song I wrote on the record was Lifeline, and I think it was the first song that I thought, oh, I think this is perhaps a song that sort of should live on its in a maybe a solo world. And so in that, in fact, my manager messaged me last week when the album came out, and he said, "Oh, you sent me Lifeline about 2 years ago, uh, and uh, and congratulations on the record." So I think perhaps that was the start of things. So I think very fondly about that one.
Hmm. So I reckon this is just the beginning of a long-lasting solo career for Rob Goodwin.
I hope so. I'm writing new songs that will go for that, go on the next record. I'm writing songs for the slow show. I really like um I'm really enjoying this little journey. And I plan on keeping both worlds very much alive.
Mhm. You already mentioned that you played shows. You are on tour and you will continue to be on tour. So is it just you and Lambert playing? And is there a lot of interaction with the audience? It seems like it.
Yeah, yeah. It's myself, and Lambert, and also a wonderful, wonderful Swiss artist who I'm also a big fan of, Gina Etter. And Gina sings and plays the viola. And so it's the three of us, and it's a small, but we can get quite big with the sounds, with the viola and the piano, and it's very free and spontaneous, and there's lots of movement, and room for being, um, yeah, spontaneous. So I'm really enjoying that side of this. Nothing's tied down. We can go where we feel like going with the live show. And because there's just the three of us, I am more interested in the audience becoming a part of the sound.
Mhm. Now, I listened to this record in one sitting, and it was late at night, and it was like an air of tranquility, and it made me sort of think. And then I thought back about my mother dying a few years ago and me cleaning out her house after her death. And I came across a few things from my early childhood, which I had completely forgotten about, but they brought back memories. Do you still have objects from your early childhood that you still have and you still cherish?
Yeah, I think so. I think like all of us, yeah, there's these things that take us back somehow. And I think I think, going back is a risky business, isn't it? You can, it's full of feeling. I'm sure it was for you in this case. Um, but yeah, I think there are always things that make us look back and sometimes smile and sometimes feel something, feel something.
Mhm. And my last question is this: is there something very important, very dear to your heart that you would like to tell our listeners?
That's a great question. I mean, this record's about kind of it's about sharing vulnerability. There's a song called X where I say, which I'm talking about realizing perhaps that your thoughts aren't who you are, and sometimes we're really hard on ourselves. And um, so I think this album's got a lot of ideas about just being kind to yourself and giving yourself a break and also realizing it's okay sometimes to struggle or to feel something that's uncomfortable, but that things usually change and they often can get better. So yeah, I think it's a soft record about vulnerability, and I think we should celebrate that. We should share it with each other. We should talk to one another.
Absolutely, yes. And I think if we stick with our vulnerability, the world wouldn't be as aggressive and as dangerous and as awful as it is these
Oh,
days.
I agree. There's lots of angry men around at the moment, doing awful things. So I think sometimes it's really important um, to, yeah, just to share vulnerability and talk to each other in a kind way. Kindness is a superpower.
Absolutely. Rob, thank you so very much for taking time to do this interview. It was lovely indeed, as is the record. I'm looking forward to keep listening to it and to many more, both solo and with the slow show. Thank you very, very much indeed.
Thank you, Kaz, it's nice to see you again. And I'm really pleased that you like the record.
Absolutely, yes, and I'm sure I'm going to like the next one. And when it comes out, I shall be knocking on your door again to ask some questions about it, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Nice one.
Rob, thanks very much. Have a great one. Talk
Thank
to you later.
you, Kaz.
Bye.